Wi-Fi by nature, talk about this very simple, is that on 2.4 you have non-overlapping channels 1, 6, and 11. Everybody knows that. That's why I picked that one. It's easy.
There'll be tests later.
And then as soon as we go to the 4th AP, we get into the channel 1 again. And now you get into this conflict of now the APs, all autonomous APs have to figure that out for themselves. So the whole concept of being able to load balance the clients, make decisions that the clients just aren't capable of doing, you will be able to and prioritize traffic the way you would expect it. You would be able to scale that. That's one of the most huge one, and the other one is also just the mental image of people talking about coverage. Everything's coverage, and not necessarily planning for capacity.
Sure.
You know, they're always like, I got 6 bars. Who cares? You know, it's like it's just radiation. You know.
The biggest challenge is actually the customer. They're generally ill-prepared and don't understand the complexity of engineering their network. I've had customers that wouldn't even produce a floor plan.
That's true.
Wasn't willing to do a site survey, yet they expect impeccable coverage. So, you know, we try to educate the customer as best we can, and then we try to work around them. So, you know, I think that's for anybody out there who's trying to plan a network, listen to your engineers and listen to the company you're working with. They really are trying to look out for your best interests.
And that goes back to oversimplification. It's how hard could it be?
Right.
We have a client that we're dealing with currently where it goes back to the client education, and they're having problems with their current Wi-Fi network, yet they immediately want to start to put telemetry, some of these other systems on, but yet the network as it stands now, both the wired network, okay, it's starting at the wired network. As we've gone in and now you have to understand the call was our Wi-Fi stopped working yesterday because there's an outside interference source and everybody else in this area is experiencing it. And so, you know, I don't know how much money they spent sending people out to test RF signal, to test for interference, and they came back and told me that it was their microwave ovens that were causing this mass chaos, which that was not the case. And so what we're experiencing is you really need to take a step back to a full assessment of the wired infrastructure before you go deploy a massive wireless. As you said, people just expect that you're going to go from wired and have the same experience in a wireless atmosphere. And that's not necessarily the case. There are other things that have to take, there are many steps that have to take place in order to have a successful Wi-Fi deployment.
Yeah, the cost per meg of the Wi-Fi transmission hitting a wireline internet connection is so much lower than the cost using the spectrum. Right, the spectrum is running scarce. So obviously the carrier's got a great business proposition. I spoke to an executive at one of the carriers recently, and I was talking about that offload, and he laughed and he goes, "It's free," because he's using your bandwidth. But there's going to be somewhere a brokering of this where it's going to make sense that ubiquitous Wi-Fi network in the enterprise is going to be utilized, and the carrier may offset that bandwidth that they're utilizing by paying, you know, giving back some sort of credit or some sort of brokering of monetarily between them and the enterprise, because they both want to solve the service issue that the end user's experiencing.
I was just going to say that's a trend that we have seen happening where enterprise has up a network that's running already, and they just carve a piece out of that and send it to traffic down to carrier, and they cross bill or get a cut of that or what have you, versus the carrier coming in and having to overlay a whole nother network just to do offload. They're trying to leverage where they can and when they can.
We're seeing the same thing, and I think it's really an opportunity, again, an opportunity for the industry. We have clients that, the client I was referencing, that, you know, they're going to deploy a standalone Wi-Fi, they're going to have telemetry, but they're also going to have a standalone DAS, a multi-carrier DAS, and we're currently in negotiations with the carriers. And so the message there is we are going to have a very robust Aruba Wi-Fi network, and so there should be some significant advantages to the carriers knowing that going in terms of how we're going to design the DAS and what type of bandwidth they're going to bring to the site. So.